All right, and again, we're back now with Bill, Dominic, and Andrew. And Dom, many people may remember we ran the interview. You talked to Anthony Weiner the first day of his reintroduction when he started doing the interviews. Mm-hmm. And I thought you asked him a very straightforward question, which was, is there anything else out there? Could there be any more photos or whatever? And his answer was pretty much, I don't know, maybe. He did much better, I thought, yesterday, don't you? And you think it wasn't accidental. This whole thing was orchestrated. Had the wife there in the video they put out that I thought was good, and where he did it. He's really playing on the New York forgiveness angle, right?
Well, definitely. I made this point with Andrew as it relates to his wife. I felt like I was back in 1993 because Rudy Giuliani had not the same problem, but Giuliani had high negatives. I know, Bill, you remember this. All of us remember. And so what did David Goff do? He said, Donna Hanover, you got to be the star of the commercial because we got to get those negatives down. And no matter what Dave Dinkins threw at Rudy Giuliani, it worked by having Donna speak for him. Now we're seeing that all over again, and it may work with Weiner's wife.
They work with Mama D'Amato. You know?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
I asked the question, Bill, and of course Richard and Ms. Kale they just went on their own thing, right? I let them go their own path. But Weiner's got an interesting thing. He's got 100% name recognition, so it's not like he's got to introduce him. But the problem for him is people have already formed an opinion. Right. So, is his biggest hurdle relating to the scandal that it was pervy, the photos? Was it that his wife was pregnant when he did it? Or was it that he lied about it afterwards and wasn't just, man, I screwed up? He's now apologizing because everybody feels because he has to because he got caught. Which of those three narratives does he have to change minds on for those that are changeable?
Yeah, I've actually got a column coming out of Newsday on Anthony Weiner and what's going on. I think it's all of the three in that case, but it's a very interesting thing. What Weiner is showing is the changing media market, the way media works today. And this is really the post-Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, kind of scandal tactic, where you used to go off and shame and hide and your career was over. Now you can endure, you can weather and break through the media frenzy. You can get into the next news cycle. I don't think Anthony Weiner can win this election, but I think Anthony Weiner can exhaust the topic of what he did in the past over the next few months and come back to fight another day.
Now, the public knows all about this, but if you are one of his opponents in the Democratic primary, right, yeah, how do you reintroduce or keep bringing up the subject without seeming like you're just piling on or taking a cheap shot?
The lies.
You
go after the lies.
The credibility.
Yeah, you do the split screen of him blatantly lying, calling this a Republican witch hunt or whatever the language was, and then having him admit it.
And do you take him seriously until the polls say you have to?
I think already he's at 18%. He's number 2 in the Democratic primary. Mm-hmm. So I think you need to take him seriously because at some point, the reporters are going to start having to ask him serious questions, not just scandal questions.
Don't you think that Weiner's success or failure is going to be a referendum on the other candidates? If Christine Quinn or Bill Thompson catches fire, Weiner's numbers won't get any zest to them. But if the public isn't really loving the other options, they might come back to Weiner.
Yeah, if the lead candidates in the Democratic primary, I would say that's Quinn, Thompson, maybe de Blasio with the Working Families Party help. If they don't blow away Anthony Weiner, they're looking very, very weak. No question about that.
Well, I would say this, Richard. Whoever's going to emerge as the front runner, you better do it before the debates. Because once Weiner gets to that debate, he's going to shine. Trust me when I tell you, the guy is a rock star. He has a way of connecting with voters. Look at how he was treated in Harlem yesterday. All of a sudden, the voters are like, that's nonsense. That's the media's fault. All he did was post a few photos.
Whenever candidate said they blame the media, candidate leaves. Let me tell you something, reporters. Bring the light over here. That line 2 times and whatever.
So they better finish him before it gets to the debates. He's going to do well.
I want to stay with you, Don, for a second.
Okay.
Do you think Albany, even if you don't follow politics and inside baseball, what's the headline for day after day after day? They're all crooks up there doing something they shouldn't be doing. They hand in the cookies. Sleazy crooks. And then stop and frisk. How do those two issues, if at all, I know stop and frisk is, but how do they play it all into the mayoral race?
It inhibits vote. It keeps turnout from being high. Turnout's already low. They're at almost historic records. I think the last was an historic record. The last turnout in the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City. What it does is it inhibits votes.
And do you think Thompson can win with the position of saying, I don't like stop and frisk, it's too liberally used, but you know what? I'm going to keep it in some way, shape, or form. Can he win that, or does he turn off? At some point, somebody's going to say, the only way I can win this is saying, if you elect me, it's gone for good.
The bottom line
can he have
is,
it both ways?
Yes, he can have it both ways. And he's guaranteed if there's a runoff. The black vote is going with Bill Thompson. That's John Lew's problem. John Lew's secret weapon has always consistently been that African-American voters gravitate to him. And that's always been a solid foundation to begin with. With Thompson in the race, Lew is done. Thompson, I don't know how they're going to get around him. You've got to get around him. And so Christine Quinn has a problem if she's the other candidate. If you attack him, it turns off the black vote. Sort of like with Obama. If you don't attack him, he's going to win. That's exactly what happened with Obama.
There's also rumors breaking this afternoon that Ray Kelly might get in the race.
Right,
There's
a lot of rumors
There's a
about
poll
Ray
out there in the
Kelly.
field.
Polls, those
Spokesman
show.
denied it.
Yeah.
a few
Spokesman
minutes
denied
ago.
it? Okay.
Yeah, but all the
thank you.
polls show he'd have big problems.
Kelly?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he'd have.
I thought he'd be credible, too.
Yeah, he'd be credible.
Now, Andra, we'll make a bet here. Do you think we're going to see fracking in New York before we see casinos built?
Wow, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Yes, I think we will in limited amounts because there is so much demand for it. There's more demand for fracking and more ardent demand for fracking in some portions of the state than there is for casino gambling at this point. Casino gambling also would have to go through the process of going through a state referendum twice, so it could take a while because fracking could be opened up quickly. And I think you will see some limited amount of fracking in some limited areas, if for no other reason than to hopefully just, from the governor's standpoint, mollify some of his critics.
Okay. This same time, guys, December, or even, third week November or whatever, is Michael Bloomberg remembered as a no-nonsense mayor who got a lot of things done, or a guy who overstayed his welcome here and it was trying to be everybody's
He's
grandmother?
still mayor at that point, and people are still going to be afraid of him. Maybe we should make this time in January, after he's out of office.
That's a better way to ask it. Which way do you think he'll be remembered? Because this one I think go either way.
Yeah, I also think that Bloomberg's not going to ride off into the sunset because he's going to walk out there, he's going to stay active in public affairs, and he's got the money to back him
gonna
up.
buy the sunset.
So I don't know if it's going to be quite the
nose
remember
in New
thing.
York, though, or do you think he goes to a bigger pond?
I think he keeps his nose in New York to some extent, but I agree. I think he goes to bigger issues. But I think he gets known as a competent mayor who was his own person in office. I mean, he's a competent guy. He's done the nanny state stuff, but he showed that he cares about issues and he backed it up. He became someone who was a lousy politician that became a pretty good one, and someone who's been able to survive in a tough environment.
How
been a good
Dominic
time
does?
for New York.
I'm sorry, Andrew. How Dominic does for a guy who knows how to spend his money and also craft the media image? I mean, who would have said if we sat around the four of us and said this guy's gonna basically rewrite the law so he'll get a third term? You're like, you're crazy. I don't care how much money. You can't do that. What do you think will happen behind the scenes? Because he's going to have a nice ride-off in the sunset. He's going to want to have all the love letters from the media, print, TV, and the rest of us here. How's that going to play out?
Well, I think Bill is right in terms of assessing Bloomberg after he leaves office. I think how it's going to play out is he's going to be remembered as someone who overstayed his welcome a little bit. But let's not forget, this guy who was a political novice goes down in history with 3 terms, as well as the other mayors, Ed Koch, and who was the other one that?
Yeah, exactly.
This guy, who would ever thought that Michael Bloomberg had this potential? It's going to be payback time as far as Bloomberg is concerned. He's already indicated that. It was page 1 of the Post the other day, where he's going to use his money to go after his critics. And that's scary when a billionaire is coming after you and he's got power. A multi-billionaire.
And he doesn't care.
And he doesn't care.
I bet you that Bloomberg's reputation is better in January of 2014 than it is in January of 2015. After a year, all of his critics that have been holding their tongue, once he's away from the levers of power, you'll start to hear about some of the stuff that he
Richard,
did.
in fairness to him, you're right, but he brought the city together racially. He'll also get credit for that.
Nobody, whatever you say, is he was competent.
Right.
And we've seen incompetence
he embraced
in
the first black
City
mayor.
Hall.
He said, hey, come on over, my brother. We're cool with each other, you know. So.
Even with the yellow cardigan. All right, coming up next, as Memorial Day approaches, what we're going to do is try and not just remember what the holiday is all about, but show you a part of the process of what's called dignified transfer, the process of moving our nation's fallen to their burial. It's an amazing part of how our military treats our fallen here, and I think it says a lot about us in a good way as a country. Stay with us.